G'day there viewers, I'm Michael R and welcome to the Fred the Alien channel where I am talking Doctor Who. Significant occasion today. It is the 59th anniversary of Doctor Who on this day, all the way back when, to 1963. 1963, a day after the President Kennedy assassination, Doctor Who graced our screens. Well, in the UK. It was like 3 years later in Australia, but today we're going to be talking about Doctor Who and also some future videos that I want to do next year. As of course, next year will be the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, so I've decided to set myself a challenge. I want to watch every single Doctor Who episode, classic series. Still, I'm in an ahhing if I'm going to rewatch the New Who in the same year. I want to watch or rewatch or even watch for the first time some episodes that I haven't seen in Classic Who. And in order to do that, I'm going to be watching them, reviewing them, and saying what I like about them, what I don't like about them. Just a generic review show. The only difference is it's going to be a lot. Like, for instance, I want to go through William Hartnell, the first Doctor, then the second Doctor, and so on, and see if I can do each Doctor in a month. And I know what you're thinking, Whovians out there. How can I possibly do Tom Baker, the fourth Doctor, in 1 month? Well, having a look, I'm going to have to do 2 videos a day, and yeah, April's going to be April. It was going to turn me into an April Fool's. January, February, March, April. Oh, that joke does work. Now for some background. I am a vavid Doctor Who nerd. I am born and bred Whovian. My parents definitely enjoyed it, and my older sister actually got me into it very young because she's 6 years older than me, so she basically showed me my first Doctor Who, and I just loved it ever since. And I was part of the wilderness years of Doctor Who, where the only thing you could get was the VHSs, and that was it. Didn't have Big Finish until 1990, and only had Paul McGann in 1996. My adventures of Doctor Who were marked with just nostalgia on VHS, and that was it. And when it came back in 2005, I was absolutely elated, and I enjoyed every second of it. Every second of it. I enjoy Doctor Who, including the polarizing stuff. But of course, this video, I want to make it a bit more special than just tell you what I'm going to do. I want to review the pilot episode of Doctor Who, all the way back when. It's not really a pilot, it was just an unaired take of the first things that they've shot of the Unearthly Child, and how is that different from the first episode. And yeah, I want to do that. Okay, in all intents and purposes, I'm going to call this the pilot, even though it's not really a pilot, but you get the general idea. Doctor Who was first created by Sidney Newman all the way back in the 60s, who also invented the Avengers. Not the Avengers that we know now, but you remember that movie with Ray Fiennes and what's her name, Uma Thurman. That movie that was based on a TV show that it was alongside with Doctor Who as well. So during the 60s, it was the Avengers, and so Newman decided to make a sci-fi show that involves going up in space. It can be historical and everything, and yeah, and this was the first outing of this weird take of H.G. Wells sort of area and time travel with an elderly man, his granddaughter, as well as 2 young'uns, dare I say. They're probably in their 30s. but Ian and Barbara. So the two teachers, Ian and Barbara, Ian Chesterton, played by William Russell, and Barbara Wright, played by Jacqueline Hall, they have a student called Susan Foreman, who is a bit peculiar. She knows a lot about stuff, about technology and science and everything, but with the mundane stuff like the average living, like the exchange rate with pounds or anything like that, like before the UK went into a decimal system, she thought it was in the decimal system, but they weren't. So they kind of see it as like, how come you don't know money, but you know everything else about scientific like areas, and so a bit of a peculiar student at Coal Hill School, and Coal Hill will come up later on in the future. And so in this pilot, and I have seen the first episode as well, just to cross-examine what's the difference here. Like in the proper episode, Susan gets given the French Revolution, which does come up later in this particular series. And she reads it and says to herself, that's not right. But in the pilot episode, she makes a Rorschach test by blotting some ink and making a picture, and that was one of the changes. Sydney decided to say, you know what, this Susan's was way too weird. Why can't we just make her like more of a teenage 15-year-old girl? And dare I say that's probably a better way of doing it, because it's easy for younger viewers to actually latch on to someone who's a bit more like them, and the curiosity of why she's so intelligent in some areas and absolutely abnormal in others. So Ian and Barbara, in their wise wisdom, and this probably wouldn't happen nowadays, they decided to follow her to where she lives. They follow her to a junkyard, which we first see in the first scene of the episode, of a policeman just looking around, and we enter into this junkyard and we see a blue, well, it's black and white, see a police box, and it's humming. It's doing the hums, and that's weird. What's going on? Doctor Who? And so Ian and Barbara follow her in, sneak in, because a bunch of grown adults searching after a 15-year-old girl, not suspicious at all. And so they try and find her, and all of a sudden there's this old man that's walking into the junkyard and leading into the police telephone box, and they hear Susan from inside the police box. So Ian and Barbara meet this old man that we don't know is Doctor Who, but it's Doctor Who, and they want to know why he's keeping a 15-year-old girl in a box. So in a way, they break into the box, and all of a sudden it's much bigger in the inside than it is on the outside. I get to say it. And Susan's inside. She wants to know why they are there. And so the Doctor and Susan sort of have a mini argument in the actual pilot episode. The characteristics of the Doctor are way, way more harsh and angry and not so pleasant. So it's kind of good. It's kind of good that they, warm him up. And so while they're in the TARDIS, which is named from time and relative dimensions in space, because it was named by Susan Cannon. Okay, it's going to be very interesting, because one of the reasons why I want to do this is because a lot of criticisms that happen in Doctor Who discourse is about Doctor Who canon, and what is canon and what is not. And in the very first episode, including the pilot and the broadcast episode, Susan does say that she named the TARDIS. Going on from that, in other episodes, that is not correct. And I live by this saying that when it comes to canon, in Doctor Who, that's optional. Like in the pilot, there are a lot of mistakes that happen. Like people behind the scenes are trying to close doors, it's not closing, and they're just banging. It's like, oh, a lot of fun. So I'm glad they redid it, and it's a whole lot better. And with the characteristics of Ian and Barbara, then they're not that different from the pilot episode to the broadcast episode, which is good because they're pretty much good. The only differences are the Doctor and Susan, which when we're entering into this new world this new universe, and they're the other, and so we need to enjoy the fact that they are themselves a mystery, and we're seeing them through Ian and Barbara's eyes. So I like the fact that they decided to play with that instead of in the pilot episode that it's more awkward and sinister a little bit. So I like the warmthness when it comes to the Doctor and Susan. And of course, spoilers ahead for a almost 60-year-old TV show. You have been warned. And so by the end, the Doctor decided to kidnap Ian and Barbara because they know too much, and much to the chagrin of Susan, who wants them to, to stay where they are because she likes them, because she's been on Earth for a couple of months. And so Susan decided to sacrifice the life that she has within this Coal Hill School and her teachers, and she really enjoys her life. So she decided to sacrifice that to say, Doctor, can we just leave, Grandfather, can we leave them here and we can go off, and no one else is none the wiser. It's just these two. And dare I say, that's good foreshadowing. Not to spoil like future episodes, but I want to actually put this footnote here because I do have theories. And so they take off and they land somewhere in the middle of a barren wasteland, dirt and non-luscious trees, just sticking out of the ground. Where are they? And I'll just leave it at that because I know what's going to happen because I've seen it before. But I just want to do the pilot for this video, and for the future videos, I'll do the entire stories, like Unearthly Child story with each episode. So it's going to be story-based, not episode-based, because I want to do each story and not necessarily each episode, because that will take far too long. And I want to see if I can actually get it right before the 60th adventures, because there's going to be 3 of them, and it's going to be in November. We'll probably get a Christmas episode next year, but who knows? Russell T knows what he's doing. And with that, thank you for watching. Happy anniversary, Doctor Who. 59 next year, 60th, the special 60th anniversary. And with that, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the Fred the Alien channel. You can find us on all our socials. So if you want to see me watch the entirety of Doctor Who, and hopefully don't go nuts in the process, but I'm not promising anything, make sure you ring that bell for notifications so you can keep yourself up to date. And thank you for watching. I've been a Michael Lister, and you've just experienced... what am I going to call this? And you just experienced Talkin' Who. Hey, normally I don't sound like this. I've actually come down with a cold, so expect a different voice in future episodes.